Good morning, everybody. Welcome to East End Arts Mean Business. We're happy to have you here. And we are thanking our hosts for the day, Suffolk Theater. Thank you very much. And our special thanks to Nicole and to Chuck, and to Clutch and to Chip for their support getting this facility ready for this event. Most appreciated. Sorry I didn't introduce myself. I'm Pat Snyder, Executive Director of East End Arts. And again, welcome. This program is made possible by the Suffolk County Economic Development and Long Island Community Foundation. And the food that you are eating is compliments of Suffolk County Community College Culinary School, so our thanks to them. Before we continue, I want to recognize our board members and advisory council that are in the house. Robert Ward, Jim Lennon, our board president, John McLean, and now everybody's in the dark, so I don't know why I'm doing this, but and also our advisory council member, Tina Folks, is here. So thank you for being here. And before we get started on the program, it's my honor to present to you Vanessa Pino-Lockel. She is representing the office of the Governor Andrew Cuomo, and she is the Suffolk County representative. Vanessa?
Thank you so much, Pat. It is a pleasure to be here. Like Pat mentioned, my name is Vanessa Lockel. I am the Suffolk County Regional Representative for Governor Andrew Cuomo. I have two main responsibilities. One is the one that I really appreciate, and it is that I am the advocate for Suffolk County. Everywhere from 110 all the way out to the Two Forks, I am there to speak on behalf of what are your concerns. And sometimes the concerns are upsetting, we're frustrated. So it is an opportunity for me to go out and speak on behalf of this community, and I'm very appreciative of that part. And I open that door to you, open communication. Feel free to reach out to me at any given moment through Pat or through Ann to access that door. The other part of my responsibility is that I am like the quarterback for the governor in the region. I bring down his message. And events like this make it wonderful for us to actually connect and hear what he has to say about such a wonderful organization. His message today is, it's a pleasure to send greetings to everyone gathered today. We recognize organizations that highlight the importance of preserving and advancing the arts by fostering an appreciation among diverse audiences. In this regard, the many successes of East End Arts are to be commended. This outstanding multi-arts coalition has become a dynamic community treasure in Suffolk County, supporting and promoting the understanding of art by facilitating the access to and experiences of art in many forms. Best wishes to all have come together today. Warmest regards, sincerely, Andrew Cuomo. And this is for you, Pat. Thank you so much for today. I appreciate you.
So across Long Island and the country, communities are using the arts to revitalize their communities. We look at Patchogue as a clear frontrunner in that success using the arts, and we see Riverhead as coming up and following its footsteps. So we're looking at the arts. It's so important to utilize the artists, the arts community, the facilities in the community to revitalize. So the purpose of today is to really look at possibilities, see where you can take home ideas for your organization, or if you're an artist yourself, ideas that you have. We're open. This is what East End Arts is all about. We're here to certainly help individual artists as well as communities. Today we have an impressive group of speakers that are actively working with the arts to make communities stronger, and we're very thrilled to have them. Each speaker will make a presentation, And when we're all concluded, there will be time for question and answer at the end. I am very happy, very pleased to be turning over the facilitation of this program to Caitlin Shea. Caitlin is one of our success stories from Jumpstart. Jumpstart is a 6-month professional development program that culminates with a downtown event that clearly demonstrates how the arts bring in the community to a downtown area or to any area. We've been doing it for 2 years and it's been successful both times. Caitlin began as an artist in the Jumpstart program, followed by the second year she was a mentor for the program, and she was also given the opportunity to coordinate this event. So she continues to take her skills that she gained in Jumpstart and advance her professional profile. So we're really happy that this is a result of Jumpstart, which we actually didn't expect year one, but it is growing artists and their professional skills in a very significant way. And so we're very happy to have Caitlin do this. And she is going to be your first speaker and the facilitator, and she will fill in the details of her career. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Pat. I'm very excited to be here today and to work to coordinate this event. Business and the arts is something that has become very important to me since the Jumpstart program. I was part of the first year, and it was just a great experience. I learned all about business skills, and like Pat said, it culminates in each artist making their own public art project, entirely self-propelled. So that means finding a business owner, finding a place where you want your work, speaking with them, fundraising, every aspect. We take into our control and we work towards that over 6 months. So it's a very fast-paced program. This is the mural that I completed in August of 2014. It's right on Main Street here in Riverhead. It began with this white wall, which I fell in love with. I had to track down the owner. It had a business in it for a short time, and then it went up for rent, and that's how I was able to find the owner of the building. And basically, I fundraised for it. I went through all these steps. First, I started with how I would put everything up there and quickly. So what I ended up coming up with is I worked on paper, and then I ended up making sort of a wallpaper paste that was durable. It's called wheat pasting. It's actually a bookbinding technique. And so in my studio, I worked on these huge rolls of paper. I worked in sections. And then there was painting the wall. That was a big step. I worked with the saying, "Imagine public art here." I wanted to inspire people even before it was there. I wanted to get people really excited. And I got to meet a lot of people in the community as I was working on it, which is something that I had never had before. I had never worked on a public art project, and it became more about all these people being excited for something going on in their town than it was just about me making something. As you can see, I had to put it up there. It's kind of a rigorous process. So I had to use these brushes. I had to get this paste soaking wet on these pieces of paper. And then finally, everything came together. And this was my last night working on it. It's hard to say goodbye, but that was it. And then this amazing thing happened where people started contacting me on a regular basis. They were sending me emails with pictures. People told me on their commute to work in the morning, they were, excited to go to work because they were seeing something cool in their town that they hadn't seen before. And it just made the area feel cared for and unique. And still at this point, the building was vacant. So for a while it was sitting there vacant. Again, there was so much interaction instead of just having a white wall there. There's even wedding photos, as you can see. I was standing there one day and this started happening and I was so excited. I didn't even think of that as a possibility. It's just amazing. And the children love it a lot. That's the cool thing too, is I can stand there and meet them all day. Then what actually happened was in July of this year, the building was sold. And then I found out actually through a newspaper article that the new owner was going to do construction on the building and was planning on taking down the mural, which hadn't occurred to me because I thought it was actually purchased because of the mural, but so that was upsetting. And for me, I knew that that was a possibility at some point, but I didn't think it would happen that quickly within a year. So I did try to contact the new owner and I had trouble doing that. And then I started to think about how involved the community was and how that would actually be a boon to any business that was to go into there. So what I did was I started a Facebook page, and I didn't know what to expect. You know, I had all these great people reaching out to me all the time. So I reached out to them and I said, you know, if this is something that's important to you, just join this group and let's see how many people we can get. In the Riverhead News Review, they made another article about the Facebook page. So that was helpful. I started with 170 people, and I ended up with 250 people in the group, and that was a powerful statement to how important this was to the people that live here. So I ended up contacting the owner. He contacted me finally, and we discussed it. And he said that he didn't realize what a huge part that was to the community and how important it was to people. And he's still working on what he's going to be putting into that building. He's going to redo the interior of the building. Some doors and windows might go in throughout the mural, but it was just a powerful experience for him as well, because he didn't realize that he had bought something that people were already interested in. It wasn't just an old building. And I'm happy that I can be part of making a new business have public interest already. And this is how it stands today. And yeah, that's where we're at for now. It's very exciting. Speakers today. First, I'd like to introduce Cirrus Barrios, who is a community liaison for Riverside Rediscovered.
Co-create a beautiful place with community, and they will love you. If you don't, they will organize against you. I'm going to talk about the methodology that CSPM group uses in order to engage community around development projects, which is a methodology we call crowdsourced placemaking. It all starts by convening the community and identifying a name for the project, and it comes all from the community. The second step is understanding the soul of that community, understanding their history, their heritage, and their values. And the community also understanding our values, which we adhere to the triple bottom approach of being socially, economically, environmentally responsible. The next step is casting a vision with public support. So residents register on our website through our platform, submit ideas, campaign for ideas, and those top ideas actually receive a feasibility study. They're included in our action plans for redevelopment. The next step is a plan for investment that's fast-tracked. With community support and private sector collaborating, municipalities help fast-track these type of projects. In the end, with collective investment, with support from the market, the public, we start to see these projects come into reality. So I just wanted to lay out our methodology in crowdsourced placemaking. CSPM stands for crowdsourced placemaking, sourcing a crowd to make a place because the community is legitimate involved, there is community support. Because of that support, the project is fast-tracked, with fast-track approvals, the community supports, investors are motivated to invest. So we truly believe that by involving the community, which we call the crowd in crowdsourced placemaking, you will have better results. You will create a beautiful, vibrant place that's supported by the overall community and stakeholders involved, everyone from private to public sector. Short-term action for long-term change, crowdsourcing creative placemaking. So when we go through this process of identifying ideas, residents can submit ideas for businesses, for creative policies, for public spaces, and other projects for art and cultural destinations. So I'm going to talk about two main examples that have happened in our project and what's resulted from that. Early on, when we started working with the community residents, there was a huge need for community support, for programming for children and young people. So we decided to approach the Children's Museum of the East End to come and offer a program for children. They provide an 8-week program out of our office. So our office every day used to interact with the public for development purposes, turned into a mini studio every Tuesday for 8 weeks for 2 to 5-year-olds. Well, initially people thought no real serious institutions want to come to Riverside to do program. The second thing we heard is residents are not going to come out, they're too afraid. If you know Peconic Avenue, there's definitely different activities after 5 o'clock happening. But we proved them wrong. Families came out, we got calls from Hampton Bays, from all over Riverhead. People wanted to sign up their children. The class was fulfilled. The first program we actually underwrote, we paid for the 8-week program to bring Children's Museum. And it was such a success. We just got a phone call from the executive director a few weeks ago saying that they want to return, not with 1, but with 2 classes, this time for 2 to 5-year-olds and 6 to 9-year-olds. And now this time they're bringing their own funding because they were able to see that the community embraced it and it was such a success. Well, what did we get out of this? Well, we got a lot of things. One, we were able to signal to the community that change is coming for long-term solutions. We were also able to get a lot of good press around it. Who doesn't like the press? And we were able to create a partnership and hopefully bring this institution to bring more programming, not maybe out of our space, but from a different space in the future. So we feel that we were able to leverage this opportunity in a creative way that turned into so many opportunities for not just for us, but for the entire community. In the month of June, July, we want to identify another activity with residents. We wanted their collective vision to come together to propose some type of outdoor event. Everything happened indoors. So we gave residents magazines, color pens, they drew, and each one of these created their own image of what they wanted to see outdoors. We created this called the collage, and what we discovered was that they really wanted space where they could come together for poetry, for music, bring families together. So we created Riverside Arts at the Park, which will take place October 17th. You guys are all invited. And we've been able now to partner with poets, musicians, book authors, the Children's Museum, and even a woman who's going to bring her hula hoops, and we're going to hula hoop, and we're going to have a great time. And once again, this is signaling to the community short-term solutions for long-term change. I got a phone call recently from a business in Riverside saying, wow, I'm so excited, so impressed by your methodology. I want to support. We're not a nonprofit, but they want to put money behind what we're doing. So I said, well, we'll figure it out because we want to do this again in the spring and the summer, and we'll take those dollars and invest them in creating space. So artists are so important. Partnerships are so important. If you look at any major revitalization project across the United States, it's the artists. They're the pioneers. They go into those spaces that no one wants to go. They transform. They bring these murals that bring beauty to our communities. So I think that we need to leverage those relationships. We need to elevate them in order to create beautiful places in our communities. And business will win, municipalities will win, and community wins at the end of the day. Well, I want to just talk about, once again, some of the tools. If you want to implement this method, you can do it on a website. You can do what Kayla did. She used Facebook to bring the crowd together and gain support. You can do a texting campaign. You can do surveys. You can do focus groups. You can be creative in the way that you bring community together to also leverage the arts in order to create place, and everyone wins. So once again, thank you very much, and hopefully the presentation.
Next we have Lori Devlin talking about Patchogue Arts Council and the PAC-MAC Festival, which is currently going on.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Lori Devlin. I'm the president of the Patchogue Arts Council, and I'm a trustee on the board in the village of Patchogue. And I'd like to thank the East End Arts Council and Caitlin and Pat for inviting me to speak to you today. So I'm here to speak about the PAC-MAC Festival, which is in its second year. PAC-MAC stands for Patchogue Arts Council Music, Arts, and Cinema. We have a catalog out on the table where you checked in, so please take your catalog with you. The festival started last weekend, but it goes through this weekend, and we have a lot of exciting things happening, which I will get into shortly. But first, I really wanted to speak about the background of the Patchogue Arts Council and how it relates to the revitalization that I'm sure you've all heard of that's taken place in the village of Patchogue. I have a background in the arts. I tried to make a living in the arts. I wish there was a program like Jumpstart when I was a young art school graduate. I found myself needing to make a living, and I spent the last 30 years in the wine industry as a wholesale sales manager. So for many years, I had no involvement in the arts. In the early 2000s, after living in Patchogue for quite some time and loving the village but not seeing much progress, I got involved politically. And in a serendipitous way, that brought me back to the arts, which I could have never expected. As part of our revitalization in Patchogue, we were in a good situation in that we had a lot of blight. We had a lot of vacancies, so we had a blank canvas with which to work. And we had a lot of support from the community because, honestly, it couldn't get much worse. So they weren't as fearful of things that we in the administration proposed as far as putting housing in the downtown. We had some condominium developments. We cleaned up some blight. And around that point, I would say maybe around 2007, Art Space was in Suffolk County, and they're a nonprofit organization out of Minneapolis. And they were looking for a place to locate live-work housing for artists, which is what they do. I think at this point they have about 50 art spaces around the United States. And they came to Patchogue and they looked around, and then we didn't hear from them. And I used to say to Mayor Pontieri, "What happened to Art Space?" He said, "I don't know, let me give him a call." And he called, and he called, and he called, and they finally came back. It took a lot of commitment from our community to bring Art Space to Patchogue. It took a lot of public money and reaching out to the state, to the county. The village financed the feasibility study, and we also donated the land that the building is now on. The building opened in 2011. Has 45 units, live-work units for artists, and it's on Terry Street. If you haven't been there, it's 1 block south of Main Street. Around the time that the planning meetings were going on for the building and the site plan, I started to notice that at the planning board meetings, there were all these interesting people there. And it turned out there were already artists living in Patchogue because it was an affordable place to live. And most of them didn't know each other. And out of those early planning board meetings came the seeds of the Patchogue Arts Council. And a movement started to establish something that would welcome the art space artists. So Patchogue Arts Council started out thinking maybe we should do an art fair on Terry Street, which is where Art Space was to be located. In 2009, we took over 12,000 square feet in Briarcliff College, which was a vacant part of the college, and mounted a huge, kind of a retrospective exhibition of Long Island artists. And we had artists from Brooklyn to the East End, and it really was a fabulous show, and we did it with 100% volunteer effort. And we raised a tremendous amount of money from the community to make catalogs. We didn't pay artists at that time, it hadn't occurred to us. Let me fast forward a little bit. We did some walking arts tours, we put art in the vacant storefronts. But what happened over the years, first of all, Briarcliff was able to rent that space. And then we weren't able to have a Patchogue Arts Biennial. We did one in 2011. Now there's a dental school located there, which is good for the community. After 5 years of walking arts tours, that wasn't working because most of the vacant storefronts were filled. Art Space opened in 2011. From that time, from 2008 to 2011, the arts really did bring so much to the community in terms of what it contributed to the revitalization. So it was a two-edged sword because now the arts found itself without some of the things that we had previously done, and especially the Patchogue Arts Council. So we decided to look around at what was going on at that time. There's always been a huge music scene. The Plaza Cinema, whose founders, Campbell Daglish and Catherine Oberg, were at our early meetings that I discussed earlier, located themselves with a nonprofit independent cinema in the Art Space building. Patchogue Arts Council had formed a gallery also in the Art Space building. We have our local theater, we've got a poetry scene, we've got this huge independent music scene, original music happening all over in the restaurants, we've got music venues. So that's how we came up with PACMAC, Music, Arts, and Cinema. And at the same time, the county had the Destination Downtown Grant, which was the first year that they had announced a grant for arts councils to compete for money to mount something significant in their downtown. And we sent in a grant application for this idea we had, and we were awarded the funds. So in last year, 2014, we did our first PACMAC Festival. It was very ambitious. We had sculptures all throughout the downtown. We had music in every restaurant and venue. We had poetry readings, we had readings from Her Story, we had a new musicals project presentation. And what we learned was it was a little bit too ambitious. It was very hard to organize and promote all those various things. Although the community saw it as a great success, we learned how to refine things a little bit. So this year, we've honed it down. We don't have sculptures everywhere in the downtown. We learned that there's elements of scale, and when you put an 8-foot sculpture next to a 5-story building, it doesn't necessarily read. So this year's PACMAC, I encourage you to come down this weekend. We've raised a significant amount of money without the grant. The grant was awarded to another organization. But we have so much support from our community in terms of volunteers, in terms of the businesses on Main Street who really realize what the artists have brought to the community. So we've been able to fundraise significantly from that group. And we've also been able to pull in a lot of volunteers, people who aren't necessarily artists, but they support the arts. What do we do? Who do we pay? We pay the artists. I think this is somewhat unique. We have our volunteers, we have our board, we have our worker bees, but when we mount this festival, we give stipends to most of the artists, the ones who experience significant expense in creating sculptures, which this year you can find the sculptures in the Patchogue Garden Club Garden, which is on the corner of Terry Street, just adjacent to the Art Space building. Caitlin has a piece in the garden, and I have to say that it really looks fantastic. So I hope for good weather this weekend, and I hope some of you stop down. We have an exhibit up at Briarcliff in a smaller space, and in that situation we put in installation artists and sculptural elements, and we've also given the artists stipends. They're not large stipends, but they really help artists to create their work and to not incur those large expenses with transportation and with materials. So to us, that's really paramount. This year, for the first time, we have also compensated some of the musicians that are playing at a number of the musical events, and we hope to continue to do and expand on this. So let me just tell you a little bit about the festival and what you can expect this weekend. We had a theme this year which was called Pairings, and this comes from my partner in crime, John Cena, who is our Director of Programming, and he's been with the Patchogue Arts Council since its inception. He's a professor and he's a sculptor. So the theme of Pairings focuses on the juxtaposition of contrasting or similar forms in media in pursuit of deeper meaning. What does that mean? In terms of our musical events and in terms of many of the exhibits, there are pairings. So when you come to the Briarcliff exhibit, which is called Cathedra, you will find works opposing each other as you walk through the space, which to John felt like at the cathedral. And you will see and experience how the pieces play off of each other in various ways. We have an exhibit at our own gallery in the Patchogue Arts Council, which is called Pairings, and in this exhibit we have artists from overseas who are participating in the New York Contemporary Arts Symposium, which is based out of the Iceland Museum. These artists will be here in about a week for a residency on Long Island, but they sent work ahead, and this work was paired with work of local Long Island artists. Some of the other things that you can see in the visual arts, if you come into town and come to the Art Space building, you'll have the Patchogue Arts Council Gallery, the garden with the sculptures. The Art Space artists have an exhibit up called The Faces of Art Space, and if you're lucky and you ask, maybe somebody will let you walk through the upper floors of the building, because each floor has wide hallways where the artists who live there display their work. Last weekend they actually had an official open studio day, but I'm sure if you really asked, somebody would take you through. Then if you come up to Main Street, we've got a gallery in the Patchogue Theater for the Performing Arts. We have a gallery, which is our members gallery, in the Roast Coffee and Tea Shop. And during the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., the hallway to Toast, which is a new restaurant which has not yet opened, but the owner gave us the hallway. And during the hours of 10 to 2, which is not the longest amount of time, but those are the hours that he can make the space open. We have the work of Jeffrey Allen Price, who's an incredible artist. It's called Rustrograms, so if you can get there and see that, it's fantastic. There's also an exhibit upstairs at the Brick House Brewery in a space called Chance Loft, and then head all the way to Briarcliff College for Cathedra, so that's the visual arts component. We also have this weekend on Sunday, we've got the Tri-Valley Brass Band playing in the New Village Green. We have a new musicals project called Worldwide Water taking place at the Patchogue Theater, and this is Howard and Linda Beckerman. Howard writes original musicals. He lives in Art Space. They moved there from Stony Brook after selling their home, and they love it. He incorporates a lot of artists from Patchogue, and so it's really going to be a multimedia musical event focusing on our natural resource of water. And then at 6 p.m. at 89 North, to end the festival, is an evening called Layla and Other Songs, celebrating the collaboration between Eric Clapton and Duane Allman, which John Cena feels is the ultimate musical pairing. But there'll be local musicians performing music from that album. So I hope to see some of you there. This is Beth Giacomo, who was one of those artists that I mentioned actually meeting at a planning board meeting with her mom. She was a recent graduate of Pratt. And she's currently a professor at Dowling College, but she makes these great inflatable pieces, and this was located on the corner. She sews them up from ripstop nylon and then has this device that inflates them. What we didn't realize was there was no electricity at this corner, and we had to get an electrician at the last minute and permission of the landlord to kind of tap into something that was in the vicinity. Live and learn. Beth's work is currently on display at Dowling College with a very large piece. If you're over that way, there's a very nice sculpture exhibit up for the month of October. Do I hear the little arrow or the space? The space. There, I got it. Okay, this is a view of the garden last year. We did locate several of the pieces in the garden. This is Dwight Trulio. I'm sorry that I don't remember the name of this artist. You can see the Art Space building in the background. This is a view from the garden. But this woman, oh yeah, Carolyn Monaco, that's her name, it came to me. She works with site-specific pieces. These were pieces she made from marine debris, unfortunately, but it really is very eye-opening. This is Dave Rogers. He lives in Art Space, and this is a piece that was located, there's a walkway that takes you from Terry Street to Main Street called the Road Walkway, and that's where these pieces were located. This is Nicole Hickson. This was another lesson learned. This was the nest, and Nicole envisioned people, she makes these out of, she repurposes materials. In this case it was tires and inner tubes, and the interior of the nest was woven. And she did intend for people to sit on it, but it got quite a bit of use, and it really got trashed. And a lesson learned that maybe we were a little bit too giving in this respect. But the children, you can see, really enjoyed it. This is Caitlin's piece. This was located at the New Village Green. This is one of the exhibits that took place. There's a Gallery 40 South. We're not using their space this year. We were a little short on gallery sitters. But this is Brian. Tina's here. Brian Gutman. Yeah. Brian Gutman, thank you, Tina. And this is Jessie. A lot of you know Jessie Valentin and her pieces. This was her royalty series. Her pieces this year, she has a series called They Remain, which you'll see around town. They're actually, I guess they're on vinyl, Jessie, and so they're installed on the exterior of buildings and windows. And it's really an exciting element because it adds that element of surprise when you're walking around town and all of a sudden it's like, wow, look at that. So I love Jessie's work. I look forward to it every year. Last year we had a vacant building that we called the Pop Mart, and we were able to invite individual artist groups to exhibit in the space. It was really an arduous undertaking because the building was a wreck, and over a 2-week period we had to paint walls, build walls, hang work, but it was well worth it, and so well worth it to the landlord that that space is now rented. This is what always happens to us. Here you'll see Mayor Pontieri, Brookhaven Town Supervisor at Remain, John Sino, my partner in crime and sculptor. This is one of his pieces. I think that's called Myriad, and our county legislator, Rob Calargo. This was the exhibit in the smaller Briarcliff Place by a group of Latino artists projecting arts, and they curated the space on their own with their organization. This is one of our musical events. This is one of John Sino's sculptures. He likes to pair his sculptures with sound-related events. And if you come to Worldwide Water on Sunday afternoon, his whale sculpture, it's not a sculpture of a whale, but it makes whale sounds. And then the musicians interact with it. It's very cool. This is a hallway in Art Space. One of the artists has her work there. Her name is Lucy. And we were fortunate to have Tina recreate the piece that she did for Jumpstart, the fire ceremony. This was really a lot of fun. Very great piece to end the festival. You can see the public really enjoying everything that was happening. This is the Tri-Valley Brass Band performing at the New Village Green. New Village is the rental units that were built in the middle of the downtown after the Sweezy building came down. And I guess that's it. All right, thank you very much.
A video by Sue Levy, who is a 2015 Jumpstart artist. Sue Levy, freelance producer and founder of Emotional Girl Media, is the producer of Riverhead Revealed, a 30-minute documentary. The video was created for the 2015 Jumpstart Public Art Program, a creative placemaking initiative. Sue's area of interest is short-form video profiles that highlight the passion and purpose of her subjects. Riverhead Revealed focuses on 10 people and projects in Riverhead. The profiles provide a glimpse of what interesting and special around town, with a goal to illuminate the assets of a little understood place that is a geographic gateway to the east end of Long Island. Next we'll be hearing from Alan Handelman from Conifer Realty about the artist housing in Riverhead.
Hi, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here in a vibrant arts community in a revitalized downtown Riverhead. I'm here to introduce myself. I'm Alan Handelman, Vice President of Conifer Realty. And Conifer Realty, which is a 40-year-old company, our core business is affordable housing for both for families and seniors. What we develop, we build. What we build, we own. What we own, we manage. So we participate in the entire process, start to finish. We use state, local, and federal resources programs for the projects that we do. Ultimately, what we do is we implement public policy. The primary engine for what we do is the federal low-income housing tax credit. Conifer's footprint, we operate in 4 states. We own and manage approximately 200 communities, a family housing community located in Westbury. We work closely with the town of North Hempstead on the design and implementation of the project. This is an example of senior housing. Probably about 30% of our portfolio is senior housing, and this is located in Maryland. And this is an example of infill housing in the downtown cultural district in Rochester, New York. A key element in our success over a broad geography is establishing long-term partnerships with local organizations. CDC of Long Island, based in Center Reach, is the premier community development not-for-profit in Long Island. And together with CDC, Conifer is involved in the development of over 1,000 units in Long Island. Currently, we're finishing up 176 units at the former UA Cinema Complex in Quorum, and we're starting construction of a 90-unit transit-oriented development in downtown Copiague this winter. So what are apartments for artists? This is an example of an artist's preference housing that we recently completed in Rochester, New York. At its most basic core, it's housing. It's a basic need for everyone, and it's a basic need for artists. Your art space and Patchogue referenced, I know that what we've done in some ways is modeled after Art Space, which is a national organization. I know that Art Space, when they were looking in Long Island, Riverhead was one of the prime locations that they were looking at until they settled it on Patchogue. It serves really as a community and economic tool because arts do mean business. And so what are the apartments? The apartments that we would be building offer the same amenities that we would have in any of our communities. A community room for community functions, fitness rooms, as well as a high level of finish for the apartments. But what makes it special for artists, and that's one of our challenges, how do we differentiate this community from another community? At Market Apartments, we constructed a separate building to house studio space. With this one of the other things that was done, this is the back of Market Apartments, and you can see a large mural there's an active mural project in Rochester, and we provided the canvas for that project. Oops. This is the design that we developed, and this was the result of a long planning process with the town. It's located at 11 West Main Street. That's the site of the Long Island Science Center. A development, a 48-unit development, had been proposed there, but never advanced. We were introduced to the project through a local construction partner. We met with town officials, and the supervisor encouraged us to contact East End Arts and Pat Snyder because he felt that the way that he could be most supportive of the project is if there was an artist preference housing. Throughout the planning process, we've had 2 or 3 different designs, and ultimately this is what we've identified. And this results in a contemporary design that's reflective of the historic nature of Main Street and Riverhead. We're fortunate that we recently received preliminary site plan approval from the Planning Board for Peconic Crossing. One of the key things is this will include gallery and studio space on Main Street. And one of the things that was referenced in Patchogue, due to the success there, the availability of gallery space and empty storefronts has challenged the arts community there for programming. This will provide about a 1,500 square foot gallery space and studio space that will be retained for the arts community and the artists and residents at Peconic Crossing. At this point, it's intended to be a 45-unit apartment community with a mixture of 1- and 2-bedroom units. It will have a preference for artists, as well as one of our sources of funding of the state is Sandy Relief Fund, so it also would have a preference for people that were displaced by Sandy. In speaking to Pat on East End Arts, we're looking to implement a vision for artist housing and add to the vitality and grow a vital arts center in Long Island. You can see the features and amenities. These are pretty standard to what we do, but the notable exception is the addition of the gallery and studio space. So what is an artist's preference? What we're able to do is provide a waitlist preference for artists. And this would mean that people that would be qualified applicants that are committed and participate in creative ventures. The category of artists is pretty broad. Includes visual, musical, performance, and in this situation, culinary arts with the culinary school on Main Street. It would also include literary arts. The way that this is done is that initially there would be a committee of at least 3 people, one of which would be property management staff, as well as other people involved in the arts, to interview the prospective applicants and make a positive determination that they are, in fact, practicing artists. It would be set up by establishing a set of criteria that this committee would establish. One of the things I know that in Art Space in Patchogue, at this point, the committees that assist in selecting artists are really all tenant-based at this point. So in this situation, Peconic Crossing will be a small part of the East End arts community, which is really the cultural center arts center for the East End, and then part of a larger Riverhead community. We're hoping to start this spring with planning board approval, which we just received, which was a major accomplishment, and that would lead to leasing in the spring of 2017 and summer of 2017. And very excited about this and looking forward to meeting everyone at both the groundbreaking and then ultimately ribbon cuttings. Thank you very much.
Next, we're going to hear from Teresa Smith, Executive Director of Long Island Arts Alliance.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Teresa. I'm the Executive Director of the Long Island Arts Alliance. And you have my bio, so you know what we're doing at the Alliance. But I'll just briefly tell you and how it's connected ultimately to our topic today, which is from local to global. And we were founded by Roger Tillis, of the Tillis family that founded or endowed the Tillis Center for the Performing Arts at LIU Post. And the vision in the founding of this organization was we have an amazing amount of arts and culture right here on Long Island that is not getting its proper due, that we need to shine the spotlight on what's happening here on Long Island. And so it's taking, this is, when it was first founded, this was the idea. I came to know the Alliance because I worked for Channel 21, producing arts and cultural programming for about 5 or 6 years, and made the transition from Channel 21 to running the Alliance. And I really came to know and understand what a beautiful place this is. I mean, we live here, so we know it, but we have amazing cultural and arts assets as well. So one of the things that we did, that we launched in 2012, was the Arts Allied LI initiative. And that includes a website that we built in 2012, that we launched. And I want to tell all the artists here that we have a free e-blast for artists about all requests for arts, so we hope that you'll go there and sign up. It's free for every nonprofit arts and culture organization in the region to submit their events. We curate it, meaning we have a person that actually looks at every event, and if we don't happen to get an event, we'll go out and we'll find it ourselves, because we're trying to create a resource, a portal for anyone and everyone. And thanks to incredible community support from Bethpage Federal Credit Union and the Regional Economic Development Initiative of Empire State Development, Governor Cuomo's initiative, we've been able to bring some advertising and marketing and start raising some awareness of the site, so people are actually coming there. So everything we do is about getting people to go to that site. So we want to see your initiatives, your events on the site as much as possible. And this was a new initiative that really targets tourists. I passed it out to everyone, the LI Arts Map. We started that this year. We had a summer edition. This is our fall edition because, of course, this is National Arts and Humanities Month, and we target most of our marketing and advertising around this month. So this is a member-only benefit, but memberships for arts organizations are as little as $75 a month, depending on, $75 a year, depending on your annual budget. So we want, so I pass this around because also my contact information is in here. And it shows how we partnered with the community. We have corporate members, the Paramount is an example, and it's because of their purchasing an ad in this map that we're able to feature 75 different organizations in listings. And we even included events this year. And some of our other partners, one of our big partners is I Love New York, and we did some support funding for Pathways Through History. So we're really trying to bring Nassau and Suffolk County together. It's about collaboration. So this is a new initiative for 2015. And the reason I'm here, what caught the eye of the committee that put together this amazing event today, was a recent press release. We partnered with Sustainable Long Island to initiate a project to create tourism packages that we could actually sell on the international tourism market. And that is a very lofty idea and not one that hasn't been thought of before. But we feel with our partners and our support that at least we can begin some regional planning on this idea. The reason this kind of came to light, I don't know if you're aware, you probably are, but international tourism is one of New York State's biggest exports. Of course, it leads the country in that. And of course, New York City, our cultural asset to the West, is one of the biggest draws, right? And an average Asian tourist will come with suitcases and drop roughly $7,000 per person per trip. And our shopping centers, Tanger Outlet being one of the leaders here, Ms. Nevins, very smart, very forward-thinking, she's already going out there and bringing tourists to Tanger, and they're shopping. And we have some amazing shopping on Long Island, some very high and amazing shopping. And our thought was, if these people are already, have their eye on Long Island, and they're already coming here, let's get them to stay. What else might they want to do? And where would they go to dinner? And they need to stay overnight. So let's invite them. Now, if you're like me, if I look at a site and I see, oh, look at all this wonderful stuff going on, whoops, I'm not smart enough or engaged enough or whatever to plan it. I'm not going to go, oh, I'm going to go here, I'll have dinner here. I want a package. I want something here. This is what you need to do. And I want someone to, that's with me, that's telling me about places like this place and a behind-the-scenes tour. And, how did this place come to be? It's so beautiful. I'd be fascinated to learn about that. There are a lot of places like that on Long Island. And another thing that kind of helps support our vision, we have a very good working relationship with Bloomingdale's. We do exhibits there. It was their idea. They really saw how the arts could help bring more people into their main store, Roosevelt Field. That's the store that we worked with. So our partners there helped us get a meeting in Manhattan at the main corporate Bloomingdale's. And one of the most interesting comments that came out of that meeting, first of all, they have contracts with all the international tourism brokers for every site except for Roosevelt Field, which is very interesting. So they were very interested in meeting with us. And one thing they said is, we see, of course, all these tourists coming to Manhattan. but they've seen the Empire State Building. And they're looking for something different, something special, something unique, a story that they can tell when they go back home that not everyone else can tell. And we were approached by Elan Marketing, which is one of the major international tourism brokers in Manhattan. The woman who owns it, Jennifer, sorry, I can't remember her last name, approached us last year because she is from Long Island, and she used to work for LICVB, the Long Island Convention and Visitors Bureau, and she knows Long Island and its assets, and she proposed that we start doing some of this planning. So this is how the International Tourism Initiative started, these conversations, these observations. And we were also, I don't know if you know Patty Bourne, who works for Economic Development in Long Beach. Long Beach just formed a new arts council, and they did the process with an organization called Sustainable Long Island. And what Sustainable is very good at is going into a community and doing grassroots planning. So they will bring the public to the table, government, business, everyone, any stakeholder in the community. And we thought this was a great partner because we will go into a community like Westbury, for example, and be able to sit down with everybody and say, okay, we're going to have a bus of 200 Asian tourists coming here. Where is the bus going to park? How are we going to feed them? Where are they going to stay? What are they going to do? All these very on-the-ground community planning ideas, we believe, is where we need to start. So and we were able to get funding so far for that planning initiative from the Rausch Foundation and Long Island Community Foundation. We are just about to start that plan. And I want to tell you what I'm going to actually read from my script here. The first step to creating Long Island arts and culture-based corridors on Long Island will lead to boost the local economy by building upon the existing cultural tourism offerings and raising the aspirations of communities through the following objectives. To identify Long Island communities that include well-established arts-related venues with close proximity to internationally appealing shopping. I bet you can think of some places right now. To access the willingness of community stakeholders for hosting and accepting large influxes of international visitors to their community. To determine the logistical capability of these communities to handle such large numbers of tourists from a traffic, lodging, and dining establishment point of view. To coordinate with established shopping centers familiar with the travel trades, bus operators, and the Long Island Railroad to discuss the possibility of combined culture-based tourism packages. And ultimately, to develop a map of international visitor corridors of communities with our venues, well-positioned, willing, and logistically able to support large amounts of international tourists seeking unique cultural experiences. So the Long Island Arts Alliance, Sustainable Long Island, will collaborate with key partners such as our arts and culture community being the first and foremost community. Also, Long Island Convention and Visitors Bureau, Empire State Development, and the travel trade. And we'll be coordinating with our partners and listening to communities and creating an appealing product. We will be better positioned to appeal to international visitors. That is the idea of that international tourism. And that's actually getting off the ground. And this program aligns really well with our vision and our purpose. And it coordinates with Arts Alive LI, this thing that's been growing and rising. This is our 4th annual year. And we're very happy to announce, I have to say, Bethpage Federal Credit Union supported us for 3 years. And as you know, that kind of support is so critical when you're trying to grow anything. And it really helped us lay a strong foundation. And this year we're really proud to announce that Bank of America is our presenting sponsor. But we also have had 3 years of support from Empire State Development, Bloomingdale's, and this year also another local organization, company called, it's a Manhattan Supply Company, MSC Direct. So I'm on another panel in a couple of weeks, and it's all about the new, they call it the new normal in corporate philanthropy. But for us at the Alliance, we're a very, very small shop, and those kinds of partnerships are essential to what we're doing. So I wanted to talk about that, and then, I hope that there's some interest here, and that I have my contact information in the map, so that we'll keep in touch. And another thing that I wanted to talk about, because I get a lot of questions from our member organizations and from all of our organizations. We realize how much the arts bring to our community. We realize the arts create jobs that can't be outsourced. We have the same issue with what we're doing. How can we show clearly that the arts are affecting business? With our website. If we promote an event at the Stoller Center, did we put a single person in the seat at the Stoller Center? How do we don't sell tickets directly on our site. We promote and do a click-through. We know our site is growing. We know we have 4,000 people a month that look at it. During the September-October season, it goes up to 8,000 to 10,000. That's due to advertising. So we know there's traffic. We know people are looking. But how do we prove that we're really having an impact? How can we take credit for anything like that, other than just raising awareness? So that's always a challenge for every arts organization too. How can we prove that we're helping business? That the reason there's a coffee shop is because of us. And the reason there's more downtown, more people moving to our downtowns is because of the arts and culture industry. So another project that we are just in the planning and funding stages now is modeled after a program that Philadelphia did. It's called Culture Blocks. And it's a creative asset mapping project. It's not very romantic, it's not very sexy or anything like that. Oops. It's to take and actually map all of our creative assets in Nassau and Suffolk County. It's a huge job. But we will be partnering with Suffolk County and Nassau County. It's critical to have those partners. Empire State Development, let me see who else. The hardest job, universities. We already have 2 universities that are submitting bids to do the work. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Long Island Index. This is a website that has been around for, I don't know if it's 5 or 6 years, or maybe even more, I think it might be 7 years, where they go out and collect information about Long Island and have created maps. And you look at the maps, they're used by planners and students and people who are interested in planning communities. And they talked to us. They said, we have mapped everything: health, income, education levels, everything you can map about people and where they live and why they live where they do. In fact, that page by a credit union and banks and smart businesses paid a lot of money to get these maps done, not necessarily the Long Island Index, but to get these maps done to make decisions about where they're going to put their next branch, right? So they said, the only thing we haven't mapped is the arts. And that's what everyone says. Everyone I talk to, we've mapped everything except the arts. So the idea is to take these existing maps and now put arts and culture on top, okay? And what can happen, I'm going to read to you the idea. We're going to do this. We're going to partner with both counties, the Long Island Index and area universities, to launch a regional creative assets and mapping project to map 4 primary cultural indicators: nonprofit arts and culture providers, creative businesses, resident artists, and cultural program participants, in order to facilitate public and private investment in specific neighborhoods around clusters of creative activity, to better inform public policy and investment decisions. We will map these sites alongside socioeconomic data. Our goal is to create a tool that will serve as an asset to leverage the role that arts, culture, and creative businesses play in helping Long Island to be a place of choice for business and residents. So I wanted to also bring that project up to you. So that's what we're doing, that's what we're talking about, and I really appreciate the opportunity to work with all of you and to bring these ideas forward, and I hope that you will connect with us, because I'm interested in hearing what you have to say about it. And we will be seeing it. Riverhead is definitely a Tier 1 community for planning, and that's because of all the work that you are doing here already. Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to do the questions and answers. All right, our first question is for Sierras Barrios. How do you ensure that you hear from all segments of the diverse community? For example, people with disabilities, minorities, undocumented immigrants, etc.
One of the things that we discovered in Riverside was that the community was not really aligned. In other projects, there's over 2,000 people registered on the website. They're more socially, more savvy in terms of internet and social media. So early on, we decided that we would do several door knocking campaigns. So I enlisted several champions. One of our champions actually in our audience, Angela Hinault, and her mother went with us door knocking the neighborhood. We must have knocked at least in the overall process 500 doors to first introduce ourselves, to introduce the project, invite them to our meetings. We went a second time asking them to also submit ideas. We went a third time with our paper ballots. We recreated pretty much the website and provided paper ballots for people to select their favorite ideas. In that process, we engaged residents who've been there since the early 1900s. We learned about their stories, about their histories, how they arrived. We also encountered residents in the Latino community, whether documented or undocumented, trying to understand them, and we were able to uplift things that the municipality didn't know. For example, in the Latino community in Riverside, it's a very indigenous Latino community that doesn't really speak English or Spanish, so we try to come as often to the door as possible. We try to be creative about our meetings in order to engage different sectors, but the main strategy has been the face-to-face contact with residents in order to engage them. It hasn't been so much online. It's been that one-on-one conversations and us repeatedly going to the door. We're actually going back to the door this week to promote Arts at the Park and to promote the Children's Museum that's coming in a week or so. So those are some of the strategies that we use. We also use texting to remind people about meetings, which has worked really good with people that don't have internet access.
The next question is for Lori. Any suggestions about how to shake up a town that has an unapproachable arts council? The town considers itself established and is not particularly open for change or new ideas. Artists are drifting away because it's so expensive.
That's an interesting. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. That's an interesting question. I'm not sure without more specifics what to say, but I think the artists need to. It's hard to say if there's things that they're doing that allow the artists to show up and speak and network. We have, gallery openings for exhibits where artists come. But most nonprofits have to have a membership and have to have some sort of a vote once a year, whatever their bylaws are. We usually put our candidates up for election, and we don't have any opposing candidates because there hasn't been anybody, making that move. So I don't know if that would be a good way to move forward, is to try to get on the board and find out how that process works, because board members are not lifetime, self-appointments. We had a lot of conflicting visions in the Patchogue Arts Council in the beginning, and I have to say, it was a painful time period. So shaking up I think means you need to speak out, you need to get involved, you need to find out who those people are and see if you can get a seat at the table. That would be my suggestion.
Great. And I would also add to that, with Jumpstart, we learned a lot of those skills about how to approach businesses, about how to involve the community. Sometimes it's not all through an arts council, sometimes it can be your own initiative. And it does take a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it. Next question is for me. This person asks, what happened to the building? Did a restaurant go into this space? Right now, it's still going to go under construction very soon. It is zoned for a restaurant, but they're currently looking for a tenant, and then they're going to cater it more towards that. But for the first thing, I think, is to clear everything out of the building. But yeah, it's going to be exciting, and I'm happy that the mural is going to grow with the building and with whatever business does end up there. And that's all our questions. So thank you so much to our speakers. Fascinating about business and arts and communities all coming together. And we have our networking next. If you go that back near our lovely pastries from the Suffolk County Community College, you'll see that there's artist promotional materials. Definitely pick some of those up. A lot of great participating artists this year. And thank you so much for being here.